and welcome to a new episode of Monroe MustHangs. I'm your host, David Spiegel, and here with me today is one of the longest tenured members of the Monroe Athletic Department and one of the most influential ones as well. Please welcome Jessica Rayford.
Hello. Hi, David.
Hey, Jess, thank you for joining me today. Let me, before I go on too far, I want to make sure I get your titles in there. Associate Director of Athletics and Director of Sports Medicine for the Monroe
Yes.
Athletic Department. And we're going to get into how that all came to be with such fancy titles. But first, I want to just say hello and acknowledge that you've had a pretty eventful year so far dealing with everything we have to deal with in life and athletics. So how are you doing?
Well, thanks for asking. I really do appreciate that. So far, so good. COVID has been insanely fun. So it's been an adjustment. I had a baby in April, as most of the people who tune in know. Her name is Jules. So I have DJ, who's 6, and Jules, who's 6 months now. So yeah, just finding that new normal, like every other Mustang out there and every other Monroe person out there, just finding that normal. And we got flipped upside down, now just trying to come out of it. But in addition to personal, also trying to make sure that Monroe Mustangs have an opportunity, right? That I find like that's the biggest piece for me. That's the biggest thing I miss, is being around the thing that we love to do, especially sports. Like, we're so privileged to work in a sports environment, to work in a fun environment. And the second that you cut out that fun, oh my goodness. So yeah, just trying to find that new normal while still being safe. As an athletic trainer, yeah, that's first on my list is safety. So it's been quite interesting. It's been interesting. How about you, David? How are you? How's everything in your world? I really have enjoyed watching the MustHangs and all your guests and things like that. I love the new platform. I'm enjoying this new thing. Like you said, I've been at Monroe for a while, 10 years, and this is very new for us. So yeah, how's your COVID experience and your 2020 treating you here on MustHangs?
Well, thank you. It's definitely been an experience. And of course, we're just trying to do some new things here as we have the time for it. So this is one of the things that I thought about doing for a long time before COVID, just trying to do something consistent like this, podcast, interview series, things like that. So finally had the time to sit down, plan it out, get it done. And I'm enjoying the experience so far. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying the experience so far. And I'm hoping to make it a better experience for our audience, of course. And, just keep people entertained and tuned in with what's going on with our athletic department. Because, of course, as you said, we don't get the fun part right now of game day and practices. Well, we do practices, but game day and having a live audience and competition and all those thrills. So, just getting used to what work looks like for us right now has been definitely different. But I think you have a lot more to say about that than I do, because you're experiencing a whole lot of different things than I am right now. Because, I'm usually confined to these 4 walls right here, which works for me, but you don't get to really do that. So we could jump right into that as well right now, is that obviously we have to change a lot of things because of what the world looks like right now. And while we're not playing any games, we do have our athletes on campus. We have them working out. We have them working with their teams and practicing. And of course, when you have that, you have your athletic trainers that need to be on top of it. So what are some of the experiences like right now in the first couple of weeks with athletes back on campus and just having to change all these protocols?
Well, so first, I want to back up just a little bit and tell you that Monroe College and the athletic training department, we are staffed and we're prepared for this. And I want to say that the 10 years that I've been with Monroe College as the head athletic trainer and then director of sports medicine, all of the administration has given me and the athletic department so many tools to grow the health and safety of sport. So I'll tell you what, we were prepared because we have a large staff. So that means we have the knowledge and the manpower to take on this pandemic experience. I'll tell you, I've been, I know other athletic trainers in the area, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, other institutions as well. And some don't have athletic trainers, some furloughed, athletic directors, administration, trying to figure it out with health and safety. But how do you figure it out with health and safety when you don't have a health and safety staff? You have to hire a new one or go out and find one. And then so now your focus is on, okay, my health and safety staff, right? I'm telling you, for us at Monroe, since we had this great infrastructure of athletic training, this great infrastructure of sports medicine set in place for the last 10 years, it made jumping in a little less stressful. We have a great team physician, Dr. Yasmin Dar. She's out of specialty orthopedics, and she partners with Montefiore in New Rochelle. And having her on staff, and then we have, in addition to myself, we have Andrew, Bobby, Morgan. We just hired Amanda, and we're looking to hire Micah. But the staff, as you can imagine, like I just mentioned, I'm giving all these shout outs because it was already there, and so it made my job so much easier. So as soon as we split from campus in March, as soon as we shut the doors and locked it down, everybody went their way. We were immediately on the phone to each other. We're immediately on conference calls. We're immediately in the books, right? We're immediately back to square one. We're immediately into understanding. But again, with the people that were already there and that have been there and know the ways of Monroe College, understanding our student athlete and all of these things, it made it very easy to get started. And so bouncing tons of ideas off of each other all summer long, when we finally got to that day to pull the curtain up, if you will, and everyone starts moving in, it's going well. It's going well, honestly. We definitely have set rules in place that I'm happy that everybody has abided by. The coaches have been phenomenal, and everybody just wants to get to the end. However you get to the end is the plan, right? So all hands on deck. We've done several rounds of testing of student athletes. We're keeping insanely clean. We're keeping masks, obviously, and it's not fun. Again, this is not fun, but we have been well equipped with the tools to take it on. And I feel it's obviously everybody gets stressed, and then you get stressed and they don't. So we have this kind of effect going on right now. But I'll tell you what, we are good. We approach things on the sports field, and I feel like a lot of my analogies when going into COVID are very sports-like, and you have to be resilient, you have to be tough, and you have to, change the game if you need to, go back to the playbook, but that's what we're doing, and the coaches have been great, student athletes have been amazing, the athletic trainers have been even better, and it's great, David, honestly. It sucks, but it's good. It's this bittersweet yin and yang thing happening, so it's good.
I think if there was one thing I was confident in during all this, was that our sports medicine department would be prepared for it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Obviously, it's just over my last 3 years at Monroe, I think the athletic training department has been one of the most consistently, I'm not sure what the word is for, but just consistently spectacular, I guess would be the right word for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, in sports medicine and all medicine, and especially for us where we're responding to emergencies, if a student gets injured, goes down severity, I think the word you're looking for is consistent. That's it. Consistency. We're consistently consistent. We do the same thing all the time, and we don't vary from those things, right? There's an expectation and there's a standard to keep everybody safe, and we make sure that we meet that standard, and it can't go left or right, and so we're consistent. And I think that, period,
That is for sure. And just such an important piece to our athletic department. I think a big contributor to why we've had so many successful teams over the last few years. And I've observed it
Mhm.
myself, just even going on some trips to bowl games and the World Series and other championships, that you just see the relationship between some of our student athletes and some of our athletic trainers is so strong. And I think that's because they've all grown to trust our athletic department, and within good reason, because they know that they're being really well taken care of. And I know just throughout this whole COVID process, the one thing that was communicated as very consistently was what the new safety and health protocols are going to be for us. And seeing it put into place now, and just, I haven't been on campus too much myself, but hearing back from all the coaches that I've been interviewing and just speaking to on a weekly basis, saying that, things are going well, things are going fine with practice. It's a little bit of extra work to have to deal with it, but it's what we got to do to reach the ultimate goal of playing in January and February and March. So obviously we're going to do what we have to do, because this is what we do and what we love.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, it's just it's, and I think a lot of people can attest to it. It's COVID is a testament to who you are as an individual. It's a testament who you are as a coach and a player. We as coaches, we go out every day and talk about make an adjustment, and you watch the playbook, and you're doing all of these different things to get to that championship, to win. And I believe that sports is a microcosm of life, and everything that happens in sport that you're going to find in life, and vice versa. So here we are, we're, our backs against the wall, we're a little bit challenged, but now's that time where put your money where your mouth is, and work harder. So the practice is not the same as it used to be. So what, and if it hasn't made you more resilient, then maybe you're not listening, or you're not working as hard, so it again, yeah, it hasn't been easy, but again, I think it's what's making the next athlete out of you, if you and whatever that means to you is what it means, just making the next person out of you.
Yeah, I would have to say that this generation of student athletes is going to be experiencing things that a lot of generations before them didn't experience, and hopefully generations after them don't have to experience either.
Yes.
But let's go a little bit farther back. You said you've been with Monroe roughly 10 years. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen? Let's say with athletic training to start, in your time from beginning till now.
Oh, sure. Actually, every day is a change, and that's why um, the last 10 years have been so great, interesting, good. When I first started at Monroe College, there was no athletic training, there was no sports medicine. President Jerome hired me and said, do a good job, make a sports medicine department. He said, don't let me down. And here we are. So we started from the bottom, and we needed to hire physicians, orthopedics, set standard operating procedures into place, establish pre-participation physicals, just make sure that when the student athlete is committing their entire time, that they are being safe. There's no underlying pre-existing conditions that might impact them from playing. We just want to make sure that we're getting the most from the student athlete, that we're giving them the most, and they're getting the most, and vice versa. So just putting all these things into place. Again, sports medicine is not just the when stuff happens, but we're preventing it as well. So having a place to go when you're just feeling sore, or just to get you at your best performance, right? However we can get you at your best performance, because at Monroe College, we ask a lot, as do most institutions, right? You need to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You need to go to bed at midnight. You need to get all A's, and you need to win championships. And this is not a drill. This is what happens, and this is what we live by, right? We practice 12 months a year, and we might have Sundays off, maybe sometimes, right? But we have tournaments, and we do it big. So we make sure that when we're asking somebody to perform at this level, we assist you with the tools necessary to get the job done. And so this is what I started 10 years ago. It was the most fun I had. And so setting all of this into place with a blank slate has been extremely fun. So needless to say, every year has been different. The first year, is nothing. We're testing it out. The second year, okay, we kind of got that going. The third year, fourth year, so on and so forth. And then amidst me figuring it all out, we add a football program. A football program is the biggest of the biggest when it comes to athletic departments. It's the biggest show, it's the biggest injury, it's the biggest everything. So for me, understanding that and knowing that about football, still figuring it out, but adding football, we managed and we made it. Coach Karg, phenomenal. Extreme understanding, extreme, great perspective. David Dimmons, I was all great. Everybody's great, right? Making this football program. So that was that year. Then the next year, we moved into the MAC, to the Monroe Athletic Complex, and that was a massive undertaking. And then we established an athletic training room where we needed whirlpools, we needed ice machines, we needed to make and feel and look like that experience, and give a quality service. So that was that year. The next year, we needed to make the athletic training room bigger. We outgrew the space in 1 year. We knocked the wall down, and now we have to move coaches and inconvenience people, but again, still growing and still making something different, and knocking that wall down, expanding. The following year, becoming associate athletic director, I want to say somewhere in there. Lou Melendez becoming athletic director, establishing new sports information while still athletic training, hiring more athletic trainers to continue to do a quality job. So in a extremely long story short, every year at Monroe College for me in these 10 years has been extremely different. And here we are in year 10, starting year 11, we're in a pandemic, like, goodness gracious, so it has been very interesting. It doesn't go without its issues, but it does. But let me tell you about all the amazing things: national champions and a lot of things, and professional athletes and accolades, and it's been great. But every year has been quite different.
I would say so. I know in my time at Monroe, when I started in July of 2017, my first little office space was what is now part of the athletic training office. It's a little computer and a little desk in little, what do we call it, a bullpen, something like that. I didn't last there too long, thankfully, for my sake, but that was my first spot. And then I remember sometime a few months down the line, we moved all the coaches out of there, and like you said, knocked down that wall and expanded the athletic training room. And it's something to behold. I don't think you're going to see too many schools at this level that have what we have there. So obviously we're very privileged and lucky. And, I know that was a big project for you, something you really wanted right away when I was there. So it's great to see how much we're doing with it. But it sounds like, back 10 years ago, President Jerome put a lot of trust in you before we had all these things. So what was it about you back then that made him trust you so much right away?
That's a good question. It's funny because I was actually just talking to Lou about this on Friday when he told me about his promotion. And I don't know if President Jerome will remember this, but I am a military child, so I traveled everywhere. So I really don't have a home, per se, right? I graduated high school in England. I went to college in Florida, in Pensacola, Florida, University of West Florida. And after that, I did my master's degree in Kentucky, in Barberville, Kentucky, tiny, tiny little town. So I'm all over the place, but New York has always had this glitz or glam for me, since I was young, and the movement of it, the hustle of it, the whatever of it has always attracted me. And in my interview with President Jerome, when we finished our interview, he says to me, he said, your country, you're Southern. He's like, but you're New York. He said, you're New York. You're a New Yorker. Something about you have New York, and you're going to be okay. And so I feel like he still sees that hustle, that grit, right? That get the job done. Also creativity, ingenuity, thinking not just straight, but, left and right, the same as himself, having the the perspective to see a football program will fit at Monroe College, having, seeing that marching band fits, and just trusting the process and trusting athletics. And that's very much my personality as well. It's very much Lou's personality as well. And so I like to think that what he saw in me back then is that New Yorker, that grit, that gonna get it done, the same way with the COVID stuff, how we get it done, right? It's all the same message. And by and far, wherever I'm from, wherever I was born, wherever I was, something inside me is meant to be, in the way of life of New York.
I think it's something that not too many of our student athletes, maybe even alumni and coaches know about you is, like you said, you kind of were jumping from place to place growing up. So do you want to talk a little bit more about what that was like and all the places you've lived?
Sure. So it's really interesting. There's actually, it's a very interesting life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So my father's in the Air Force. And when I was born in Okinawa, Japan. We lived there for 5 years. After that, we are the typical military family. My father gets the orders, we pack up and we leave. That's how I'm born and that's how I'm raised. That entire military structure is my life, and that's fundamentally who I am. It's taught me how to deal with adversity. It's taught me how to get up and move. It's taught me to watch your surroundings. It's taught me a lot of different things, and not to mention meeting new people, right? So moving from Japan, Okinawa at 5, we moved across the world to Colorado. We lived there for 4 years in Colorado, United States. After that, for 4 years, we moved to Germany across the world. Again, remember, when you're in the military, you don't live in these little bubbles of Americans. You live within the country. So we live in the towns of Germany. We live in Japan. We're part of the country. So meeting people, learning the language, learning the food, being accustomed to something different is our life. So yes, after Germany, we moved to Las Vegas. Everything, right? It's so different. I moved to Las Vegas as a young girl in the 6th grade. We lived there for 2 years. After that is where we moved to England, where I stayed for 4 years, and I graduated high school. College is next. Not sure where and what and why. So Florida, because it's hot. So I moved to Pensacola, Florida, where the beaches are. University of West Florida, best experience ever. Best, amazing institution, proud alumni. And then a friend of a friend gave me a chance in Kentucky to be an assistant athletic trainer in Barberville, Kentucky, which is NAIA, where I got to master my athletic training education that I got in Pensacola. I feel like, and in Kentucky at Union, that's the basis of a master's degree, right? To take what you've learned and get better and get better and get better. So in the middle of Kentucky, all we had was sports. So at Union College, the enrollment is 600 students, 550 were athletes. So the entire institution is athlete. It's all run by, that's what keeps the lights on. It's everything, right? And so again, it gives me an opportunity as a young athletic trainer to just absorb everything, right? So we had a football team, there's tennis, there's swimming, there's cycling, there's everything. It's approximately 27 sports also at Union College with these 550 athletes. And it's where I mastered. And then coming over to Monroe College, here we go, 10 years. And so that's basically my story of Okinawa, Japan, of acquiring all of these different tools from my parents and the United States government and the United States military, because as a dependent in the military, we are expected to act and be and perform a certain way. And all of those influences have put me right man, right spot, if you will.
I'd say you're definitely in the right spot now. But jumping all around the world, going from country to country, from state to state, where did you find sports and then eventually sports medicine?
Sure. So I found sports, my parents put me in sports young, but it was just that recreational softball, baseball, no big deal, soccer on a Saturday, fun. I found sports in England when I was in the 10th grade and looking to meet more friends, wandered into a gym and people were playing basketball. I did a pickup game with a bunch of girls. Those same girls are my best friends to this day, and played basketball with them, found that camaraderie, found that physicality, found just that friendship that you know, that everybody knows you find when you're with sports, when you're part of a team. And I joined the volleyball team, I joined the basketball team, and I joined the softball team. I joined the track team. And so I joined everything that had to deal with sports. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I was in the gym with my friend's father. We were lifting weights, and then early in the morning we were running, and we were just, you know, this team, and we needed each other. Again, especially being military dependent, we tend to fall, you know, we need each other, right? So that's where I found sports, was actually fairly late in the 10th grade. And it's very weird, David, but when I was going to college and looking for a college, I typed athletics, and athletic training popped up. I clicked it, I said, that's it, boom, and that was it. So it didn't take much pondering. I'm fortunate enough to have like just been steered straight to the path somehow, some way. I wasn't enrolled in like, maybe I want to do this or maybe I want to do that. I love sports. I love what it brings. I loved everything about it. And again, I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew that things end, especially being a military child. This is going to end, right? I have to move. Something has, you know, not forever. So how can I maintain this, right? How can I maintain this feeling I'm having? So yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, actually, in the library in my high school in England, typing in athletics and trying to figure out how I can continue to be in athletics. And it's at athletic training. I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. Then that was it. And I applied to University of West Florida. I was actually going to go to Florida State also, but my best friend got into West Florida, so we decided to go together. And yeah, it just was, it was like that. It was just quick light bulbs. I know it made me feel good. I know it made me happy, and I just needed to keep it the same. So thus is sports, and here's athletic training. And you know, I'm 5'1", and there's no way I was going to be a pro at anything. And I lived in England, so no one's saying me do anything. So okay, I need to do. This still makes me happy. How can I maintain this happiness? You know. So that's how it happened. You know.
And that's a heck of a story. So it's nice to just know where you're going, I guess, at a certain point. I wouldn't say I necessarily found my way into athletics the same way you did. I kind of had to figure things out on the fly throughout college, but here we are. Can't say I'm upset about it.
Hey Mustangs, I just wanted to tell you about the brand new Monroe MustHangs sideline store, powered by our apparel partner BSN Sports. Create your own unique piece of Mustang gear by choosing from hundreds of apparel options, colors, graphics, and your choice of the new Monroe MustHangs logo collection. Throughout the month of October, you can take 20% off your order of $85 or more by using the promo code OCT20, that's OCT20, at checkout. Visit the Monroe Mustang sideline store at monroecollegemustangs.com/shop and gear up for the new school year.
So I think an athletic trainer, at least from my outsider perspective, gets to experience a lot of different things with athletics, a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So I want to stick to some of the positives there. What would you say have been, as an athletic trainer, some of the best things that you've experienced?
Some of the best things are the everyday cliches of helping an athlete. You see them injured, and then you get them back on the field. But what I take it a step further at Monroe College, the best thing for me is the fact that most of our student athletes, a lot of our student athletes, don't have access to an athletic trainer or that health and safety. So the student athlete and the parent tend to take that side of themselves for granted. And so it's not just that cliche of, oh, he got surgery on his knee, he did 6 months rehab, and now he's back playing. No, I take it a step further, that I am the first experience you had, and I have now changed your life because somebody paid attention to you, because somebody took the time. Where in high schools around the New York area, and then like I spoke about at the beginning of our conversation, you don't find athletic trainers in a lot of colleges also. So we tend to get a lot of transfer students as well, for whatever reason. Whatever personal reason it is for them, but they transfer in. And I will hear a lot of times as well that we don't have this. Thank you so much. Thank you, miss. We didn't have this. So it's not just, that cliche of helping somebody, but it also is like you just change their entire life. So the way that they will end up as a person, the way that they will now care for themselves, the way that they now will interact, going forward, and understanding that, yes, I am going to bust my butt to be on this sports field to win this championship, but somebody still got my back and looking out for me. You know what I mean? That matters. It does. It makes a difference. So that, I think, is the number one positive thing. Is I just have to just take it a step further. That just the joy that it brings, to a person, and in every day, even because everybody needs somebody to complain to. So if we're on the road in Colorado, you experience, David, you've seen how many times I get knocks at the door in the hotel. I have a headache. I'm like, okay, what does your mother normally do in this situation? but it's okay, because I'm here for you, and I know that you probably had a long day because you've been playing baseball and your stress is high because you're trying to win a championship, right? So there's so many things. Plus you still have to write papers. Student athletes have it hard, right? So I empathize with a student athlete very well. So a lot of the positives, like I said, are just that interaction, just that human interaction, just changing their life, changing their perspective a bit. And that's the best part. Again, I can definitely say holding up that soccer trophy and holding up, those championship trophies, that rocks too, don't get me wrong. But that is once in a whatever. But on a daily basis, what wakes us up in the morning and keeps smiles on our faces, and that positive stuff is changing people's lives. And it's not, again, I have to just say it over, it's not just the little rehab. It's the fact that no one paid attention before, and now people are, it does something to people, thank you.
I did mention it earlier that just from being on the road sometimes with these teams, and especially at home too, that I've seen the kind of relationship that you and every other athletic trainer we have, the relationships that you've built with each and every student athlete. I don't think there's a single one that you don't have any sort of relationship with. So, it's something it's very admirable. I know you have to deal with them every single day. So obviously it's a great thing to have a good relationship with all of them. But obviously this is your passion. And over the years at Monroe, you not only grew the trust as an athletic trainer, but also as an administrator. So what was the process of also adding the Associate Director of Athletics title to you, and the process of transitioning into a more administrative role with the college?
Sure. Yeah, it does sound like I feel like a little unorthodox for head athletic trainer to now take on such a huge role. The same way that a baseball coach, though, let's be clear, a baseball coach can take on a bigger role, right? That's a little unorthodox as well. So it's not necessarily the position of athletic training. It's just the fact that you have a whole nother job, and how did you get this other job? So I feel, and I like to think that I almost had no choice, because when I started at Monroe College, I started so ground level, and every day, like I mentioned before, was such we had to be creative, if you will, that I was constantly in the executive vice president's office, or even in the president's office, or in the CFO's office. And I was constantly having to insert myself in these people's offices, so that way that we could accomplish the sports medicine goal that President Jerome and I talked about in my interview, right? So when I was hired, I had do this job, do it well. To do this job and to do it well meant that a few things needed to change infrastructurally and policy-wise within athletics, and I needed a lot of things. So the fact that I needed a lot of things meant that I was, knocking on several doors a lot of the times. Whether that meant I need a little bit more bump in my budget, or I needed an extra bus, or I needed, because if somebody's having surgery now I'm introducing this concept of a student athlete tears their ACL and they can't go home. They need to get surgery right away, so that way they're ready for the next season. And just understanding the culture behind athletic training and the urgency that we take people to the doctor. They're gonna get surgery immediately. They're going to be in the dormitory. So just introducing new concepts and new cultures that are associated with athletics, where athletics is not just linear, right? You just don't show up and put your sneakers on and play your game and you don't go, right? There's other things. There's a lot of things that are factors. So the other factors were not necessarily established when I arrived. So I feel like me getting to know the administration, because of the needs that I had to establish a sports medicine department, when Lou also, baseball coach, he and I were working together every single day as well as a coach. So he understood, should I say, my needs. He also had a hand in developing the athletic department in various different ways. So he was a witness and a contributor to everything that I was going through and doing on a daily. So when Lou became the athletic director, when Monroe College gave him the promotion of athletic director, he needed somebody who was going to carry out his mission, if you will, his creativity, his hard work, his effort, his giving back. And we mirrored each other, again, based off of the years of me implementing the athletic training, sports medicine things that I needed. And it was this perfect storm, basically, David. It's the perfect storm of Lou's getting this promotion. I have a relationship with the administration because we both have the same ideas and ideals, and it has fit, and it has created, again, this perfect storm. And it's added another layer on top of both of our jobs as a baseball coach. And I'm still the head athletic trainer, if you will. I'm still tending to athletes. But I'll tell you what, they complement each other very well, both of our jobs, because we've been in the inside, and we know. And so we're like in the inside working our way out, if you will, as opposed to the other way where, you're starting at the top and then you have to figure out what's happening inside. We already know what's inside because we worked every single day on the inside. We are the same as the coaches. We are the same as the student athlete. We've experienced it all. We're there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm there in the emergency room. I'm there calling moms and dads. And just like I said, 5 years, I think maybe 6 years now. I can't remember which. I think 5. But it just was this perfect storm of meetings, if you will. And the president of the college and David Diamond, they recognized it and made it work.
I'd say one of the things that you've taught me, and of course you were so instrumental in bringing me here, so of course thank you for that. But one of the things that you taught me very early on in my tenure at Monroe is that our department is very much like a one big family. And I think that starts right at the top. And I know that you and Lou Melendez have always had such a strong relationship together. And I think that's part of the reason why our department runs so well, is that the two of you are not like yin and yang. It's not like opposites. You just know how to work with each other. And can you just tell me a little bit more about establishing that relationship between the two of you and kind of what that looks like? Because I know it goes beyond athletics, beyond work, and it's just one of the great things about our department.
Yeah, well, thanks for recognizing that. So again, a little unorthodox because yes, Lou is my boss on paper, but remember, we as baseball coach, or as coach period, and as athletic trainer, there is a relationship that gets established at the beginning of every single season. The head coach and the athletic trainer sit down and have a conversation. These are my expectations, and these are my expectations, and we need to get this done. Like I said, athletic trainers have the same goal in mind. We are trying to win too. We want to bring happiness. So for years, I am the baseball athletic trainer. And so Lou and I have had to have a relationship for his players. So if one of his players, his main pitcher, let's say his ace pitcher, has a pulled hamstring, Lou Melendez, when is he playing? 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 Right? So this is just examples. And for me, coach, 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 right? So it's a communication thing. We've had to establish this line too, these boundaries early on, be coach, athletic trainer. And again, it happens with every sport. It happens with, I could talk to you about Jeff Brewstead. I could talk about Marcus DiBernardo. We have these communication boundaries set in place to get to the same goal of getting everybody successfully on the field court to play. And so Lou and I have always had to listen to each other. Sometimes he doesn't like it. Sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes you love it. Sometimes I love it. We come to an agreement. And again, that was established on day one. So taking it a step further into the athletic director world that we have, it's just our nature, if you will, right? Nothing has changed. We approach things very pragmatically, and we approach things very much the same as if the student is injured, right? Okay, these are the things I need. These are the things that this is reality, and we kind of, we manage it in that respect. We both possess very good listening skills and communicating skills. With those two, it forms respect. I firmly believe that if you listen and then you communicate, it's not like this. It's not a secret. It then creates respect. So the relationship Lou and I have is respect, and it has turned into friendship. And again, thank you for recognizing it. But yeah, it definitely makes it an easier situation when you've had 10 years of communicating, especially when it's just focused about the same thing over and over. It's athletics. We do this every day. It's our baby. He's been in athletics your whole life. So we have made it our business to figure this out, and I feel like we're doing well, and all we have is room to grow. Like, I cannot wait for the next couple of chapters of the Monroe Mustangs.
And you say plenty of room to grow. And actually, one of the next topics I wanted to bring up was, again, when I started right in the summer of 2017, one of the things that was happening here, and that started, the process started before I was here, was creating another athletic department entirely, the Monroe Express. I know you and Lou especially had a lot of say and a lot of work to do with this. And what was that like? First deciding that this was something that Monroe could do, and then seeing it become a reality.
That's a good question. I actually, I laughed because I forgot about that. Like, we have so much to talk about, right, normally, and then, oh yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother topic. And then it just blew my mind, like, oh, there's a whole other athletic department. It's it's unconventional. It doesn't happen. Especially, we just finished the last 40 minutes discussing athletic training, baseball coach, and personal lives, and now we're going to discuss another athletic department. So again, I think it's, again, right man, right spot, and it was one of those perfect storms. It was one of those Lou Melendez, Marcus DiBernardo what ifs, right? And the good thing about our what ifs and our creativity is, at Monroe College, we're allowed to have it. And so that helps tremendously. So when you say why at Monroe College, it's because, again, somebody's listening, and we start this process of talking, right? And then it builds the respect. And President Jerome, again, David Dimon, they just nothing but trust and respect for Lou and I, but also intelligence, because they understand what X's and O's mean and what logic means. And, oh, so this is the product, this is what's happening, and it makes perfect sense. Is if we can all understand what makes perfect sense as intelligent people, mixed with respect, we get an entire athletic program. It was interesting getting it started, again, just like how we started football. But getting it started was interesting. It was fun. We got to know a lot of different people. We interviewed a lot of coaches. It's fun. And that is the number one thing to all my student athletes, or who, and people who still haven't found the way. Again, just do something fun and do something happy, and I promise you it'll be fine. So making an additional athletic program in the Bronx, again, number one, we had the resources, because the administration believed in us and they allowed us to be creative. He gives us the ways and the tools to be creative. So if we're creative already and we have the tools, it's not that difficult, So interviewing a lot of coaches, Alaire Premiano, who is the heart and the soul and the backbone and the workhorse and the person who is implementing it all, who puts it down, who walks the walk, phenomenal. When you have somebody like that, also, it speaks for itself, and with Alaire embodying that we want to help people, we want to make a quality product, and just embodying all these values, it doesn't make it difficult. It sounds extremely difficult. Oh, you're a baseball coach, athletic trainer, children, wives, husbands, all these lives, but if everybody is competent and everybody's listening and everybody's doing the same thing in the same way at a football game, again, like I say, a lot of my analogies are very sports, but when we're starting a football game, there are 100 men on one side ready to go. There's 100 men on the other side ready to go. It's 200 people. In addition to that, there's David Spiegel in the box. He's running around, right? You have people on the sidelines. There's all these things happening. But we are so good at those dances, and we're so good at being where we need to be at all times, that when we add this other athletic department, it's literally just part of the dance. You just kind of add it. It's like juggling, or spinning plates. You spin them, you keep them going, you just have this momentum going, and you juggle it up. And again, if you're good at it and you practice, and again, you have the tools. As long as you need the tools, you need somebody to believe in you. So, and it's not hard, it's good, it's fun.
I would say we're definitely very lucky to have not only the tools, but the support to be able to do all these things. Like you said, adding the Monroe Express, a couple years before that, adding a rugby team. This year, adding an esports program that's going to be building and building over the next couple of years, things like that. I think even just the things that I get to do because of all those walls that you guys broke down to allow me to do something like Monroe MustHangs, or rebuilding our websites and social media pages and all that stuff. I think that's one of the reasons why I love being here so much, is that I don't have to necessarily do all the battling that you and Lou have to do, but I know because of what you guys do, I get to do all the things that I like to do. So again, thank you for that. It's just it's just one of those things that we're so fortunate to have, and it reflects on all the success that we do have. At least we always get to put a good product on the field, on the court, and it's because of I think really strong leadership at the top. So I commend you and then Lou, and like you said for the Express, we have Alaire over there, who if you're listening, Alaire, you still owe me an interview. She's one of the busiest people on our campus at all times, especially this year. So I could hardly get a phone call from her, let alone an interview, but she knows it's coming. So we're running a little low on time. So I want to know if there's anything else you want to throw out there, just because I know, we're part of an athletic department, but we still are part of a college. So in a way, all of us kind of have a role of educators. And
Yeah.
you said that you in the athletic training office and all the other trainers, you get to change lives all the time. So what are some of the best things that you think you've taught people throughout the last few years, or throughout your tenure, I should say?
Sure. Some things I think I have taught people is patience and trusting the process, um, but also advocating for yourself, speaking up, and realizing that you do matter. Don't have to be this, you can be that, it's okay, but you have to speak up and advocate for yourself, and just giving people the tools to understand um how life works, honestly. It's not easy for any of us. I'm somebody's child too, I'm somebody's kid, um and it's just not easy. So just understanding that, we got this, but there's a way, but it's also work hard. It's also hard work. It's also extremely hard work. It's extremely hard work. It's extremely
Hard work, but rewarding. And I would say
rewarding.
when it comes to you, and especially you and Lou together, what you just said goes beyond the student athletes, because I feel like I've learned so much from just watching the two of you lead our department on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis now. So, I'm just that I want to say before we get out of here that I am very happy where I am because of the people like you. And I think for anybody that's listening to this, that's considering coming to Monroe, it's a great thing to know that we have people like this in our department that are really going to help some student athletes grow over a couple of 2 years, 3 years, whatever they get here. And that if you're a coach looking to work here, same thing. It's a place not only to grow, but to learn and to really build yourself up, and a place I would say it's probably really hard to leave, as I've spoken to some former student athletes and recent student athletes and coaches that were student athletes. One of the things they always say is that they eventually do have to leave here, but they're always blue and gold at heart, and as we've seen, a lot of them end up coming back. So
Hey Mustangs, unfortunately we had a few technical difficulties at the end of the show, so I'm going to finish this one out by myself. I want to thank Jessica Rayford once again for joining me today on Monroe MustHangs. I think we had a great time today. We learned a lot about the Monroe Athletic Department and a lot about Jess, and she's one of the most influential people you'll meet at Monroe. So I hope you guys all enjoy the show. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Monroe Mustangs, or find us on Instagram at Monroe Mustangs and watch the show on IGTV. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.